Hi, this is Ishan.
Hi, Maya.
And welcome back to the
Hiubang Show.
Okay. Can you name how many countries have nuclear bombs?
Nuclear weapon.
I know US.
Korean.
North Korea.
North Korea.
I don't know about South Korea. I know North Korea have
Russia.
Russia.
And
of course
China.
China maybe.
China.
And of course
India.
So one of the reasons why a lot of the countries that say they have nuclear weapon is definitely for defense purposes.
Yeah, that's only a diplomacy reason.
Or in the other words, you mess with us, we boom.
So, Mr. Indian Facts.
Indian Facts request us to check out why India have what's it called, nuclear weapons. So this is going to be very interesting. So we'll just check it out.
Want to escape from the stress of the city? Here you'll find beautiful valleys, breathtaking nature, ancient culture, and bombs, terrorist attacks, and systematic violence.
Switch.
Kashmir is the last place on earth you'd want to go, and in the last few months, this region situated between India and Pakistan has been making news headlines again. Could it lead to nuclear war? Well, in this video, we're going to explore that possibility. There are only 3 sporting events that gather an audience of more than 1 billion people worldwide. The opening of an Olympic Games, a FIFA World Cup final, and an India-Pakistan cricket tournament.
It's bowling!
Yep, you heard that right. Cricket is the national sport in both India and Pakistan, 2 of the most populated countries on the planet. And the rivalry between them, it goes way beyond sports.
Kashmir suffers from the worst attack in 30 years.
And believe me, this is no small matter. Both India and Pakistan have nuclear weapons. The main reason for their fighting is a region called Kashmir. Both countries are in dispute over control of this area. So in February 2019, a terrorist group called Jaish-e-Mohammed organized one of the worst terrorist attacks in Kashmir. And India answered this with the first bombing inside Pakistani territory in decades. The situation, it really couldn't be more tense. So the questions. Are we about to witness a nuclear war? Why do India and Pakistan hate each other so much? Well, today we're going to answer those questions, and we're going to do it with the help of our friend Xander Snyder, a political analyst and one of the voices from the Reconsider Media podcast that you'll often hear about on these videos.
Hey Simon, and hello to all of you VisualPolitik subscribers out there. As you mentioned, India and Pakistan are in a standoff of sorts, and really have been since they became independent countries. Today, we're going to talk a lot about nuclear weapons, but more importantly, we're going to talk about nuclear doctrine. Can all of this lead to nuclear war? I don't think so. In this video, we're going to discuss why.
Well, we'll get to all of that, but before we do, let's take a look back at the history.
Clash of the Titans.
After World War II, all of the Indian territories became independent from the British Empire, but that was a bit of a problem. There were 2 big religious groups here, Muslims on the one hand and Hindus on the other. So what did the UK do? Well, easy. They sent all of the Muslims to one place, and they called that Pakistan, and they sent all of the Hindus to another, and they called that India. But there was still one problem. There were many areas where it wasn't clear if there was a Muslim or a Hindu majority. Kashmir, well, it was one of those regions. Basically, most of the Kashmiri citizens were Muslim, but their governor, their Maharaja, happened to be Indian. This is why the British decided that Kashmir would be an independent nation, which made everyone happy, right? No, in fact, quite the opposite. Just 2 months after Kashmir declared its independence, Pakistan invaded it. So the Maharaja asked India for help.
This is how these 2 brand new states, India and Pakistan, started a war. The result, aside from thousands dead and millions displaced, is that in 1949, Kashmir was divided into 2 parts. One for India, and one for Pakistan. But if you thought that a border was going to be enough to keep everyone happy, think again. India and Pakistan would go on to fight 3 more wars over control of this whole territory. Now, wars between India and Pakistan tend to follow a similar pattern. Pakistan starts the wars, and India wins them. And after all, at the end of the day, India is a more powerful country, has a larger population, a larger military, and more money.
So we've already reached the 1960s in our timeline here. Back then, the Indian Prime Minister was the woman we're picturing here, Indira Gandhi. And there are 2 things that you should know about her. First, she had no familial connection whatsoever to Mahatma Gandhi, and the second is that she had nothing to do with peace and non-violence. Basically, we're talking about a woman who forced 6 million poor people to get vasectomies. So this woman, annoyed as she was by the Pakistani attacks, essentially said, "F this shit, we're getting some nuclear bombs." And therefore, in 1967, India started its nuclear program. Since then, the Pakistani army hasn't dared to directly attack its now nuclear neighbor. Instead, Kashmiri citizens have been suffering never-ending attacks from all kinds of Pakistani terrorist groups. And if terrorism wasn't enough, the Indian government does not fuck around either. Since 1990, Kashmir has been under martial law. This means the constant repression of its citizens. And if you thought the situation couldn't get any more complicated, is that really possible? Well, yes, because in 1998 things took an unexpected turn. Let's have a look at that.
Mexican standoff.
Fighting a nuclear country is like playing cricket without bats. That is why, even though Pakistan is poorer than India, Zulkifar Ali Bhutto, who was the president of Pakistan back then, had a very clear goal.
We will eat the grass or leaves, even go hungry, but we will get one of our own nukes. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto.
This is how, in the year 1998, Pakistan conducted its first nuclear tests.
Pakistan has been obliged to exercise the nuclear option due to weaponization of India's nuclear program. This has led to the collapse of the existential deterrence and had radically altered the strategic balance in our region.
And this is how we get to the Mexican standoff. A Mexican standoff is a situation where none of the participants have any way of winning, so they're basically waiting for someone to make a false move. But even though both India and Pakistan now have nuclear bombs, there is one area where they differ: their nuclear doctrines. India has a no first use doctrine. This means they are ready to make use of their nukes only if they've been attacked by the same kind of weapons.
Pakistan's nuclear doctrine is different. It does allow for first use of nuclear weapons if they are invaded with a sufficiently large ground force.
In this doctrine, tactical weapons play a very important role.
You see, when it comes to nuclear weapons, there are 2 high-level categories: strategic nuclear weapons and tactical ones. Strategic nuclear weapons are those that can take out an entire city and are usually launched from thousands of miles away on a ballistic missile or dropped from a strategic bomber. Tactical nuclear weapons, on the other hand, are smaller yield and meant to be used on a battlefield in close proximity to maneuvering forces. This January, Pakistan tested a short-range ballistic missile equipped to carry tactical nuclear warheads, although this is definitely not the first nuclear delivery vehicle that Pakistan has in its arsenal. Pakistan equips military with tactical nuke-capable missile.
In other words, Pakistan is compensating for its smaller military might with a more aggressive nuclear doctrine. If India attacks them, they could use the tactical weapons easily and even destroy the nuclear silos on Indian territory. And if you think this is a very irresponsible nuclear doctrine for a country, well, hold on a second, because you haven't seen anything yet. In Pakistan, the nuclear button is not in the government's hands, but rather it's in the armies. In this country, the military and the government there go rather different ways, and the Pakistani army is really quite scary. Basically, there are many reasons to believe that the army is supporting several terrorist organizations, and this explains news like this.
U.S. military to cancel $300 million in Pakistan aid over terror groups.
For example, you might remember a chap called Osama bin Laden. Do you remember where he was when he was finally found? Well, yes, that was in Pakistan. More specifically, next to the Kakul Military Academy, which is sort of the Pakistani equivalent of West Point.
And what types of terrorist organizations might allegedly be connected to the Pakistani military? Well, on the one hand, you have groups that support the Taliban in Afghanistan, for example. On the other, we have groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed, which fight to gain control of Kashmir.
So no matter how hard the Pakistani government tries to cut ties with New Delhi, both the Pakistani army and the terrorists, they make those plans backfire. And, well, how does India respond to all of this? Well, that's basically by improving their nuclear arsenal. And what do you do when your rival neighbor knows where you have all your nuclear silos? Well, we're going to tell you right now.
War?
Can you imagine someone like John Elway, the legendary sportsman, becoming the American president? Well, this is exactly what happened in Pakistan. Their new president is Imran Khan, the man who led his country to victory in the Cricket World Cup.
Just like his predecessors, Imran Khan has tried to improve relations between India and Pakistan. And this is when Jaish-e-Mohammed organized one of the worst massacres in Kashmir in recent memory.
And this is when Narendra Modi essentially said something like this. Hey, Pakistan, come over here. We're having a lottery, and the prize is a punch in the face, and you've got all the tickets. In other words, for the first time in decades, the Indian army bombed Pakistani territory. This means they didn't attack the Pakistani part of Kashmir, but Pakistan itself. But hold on a second, because this is not the end of our story. Remember that Mexican standoff situation? Well, India has made a hell of a move. And this move has a name, the INS Arahant, the so-called enemy's destructor.
Nuclear submarine INS Arahant completes patrol. Country's nuclear triad operational.
Remember when I told you that Pakistan could use their strategic weapons to destroy Indian nuclear silos? Well, the Indians were aware of this, and that's why they got nuclear submarines. The advantage of a nuclear submarine is that you can have your nuclear arsenal constantly moving around underwater. It's harder to find, and therefore it's harder to destroy, and this is why the Pakistani army is so nervous. And this is the point where the media started talking about a would-be nuclear war. But is this really likely? Well, we at VisualPolitik, we don't really think so. Why? Well, first of all, even though India attacked Pakistan, they just bombed some terrorist training camps. This means they didn't actually cross any red lines that Pakistan would consider an invasion. So what was Islamabad's response to all of this? Well, some airstrikes, but let's be honest, they're the last country to want a nuclear war. Just have a look at what the former Pakistani president said.
Attack with one nuke, India may finish us with 20. Pervez Musharraf.
This explains why Pakistan didn't wait any longer than 3 days to release the Indian pilot that they captured. And in case they were tempted at some point to strike back, India has made things very, very clear.
Indian Navy deploys aircraft carrier and nuclear subs to deter misadventures by Pakistan.
So again, so far it seems like neither country is really thinking about an actual nuclear war. So then, well, who is this all really helping? Well, so far the clearest winner is Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister. Yes, dear viewers, India is celebrating a presidential election, and all this conflict with Pakistan has helped Modi rise up in the polls.
Modi declares victory in Indian elections as opposition Congress party concedes.
But don't worry, because in the following weeks we'll talk about the Indian elections in depth. They're the world's biggest elections, and of course, we're going to dedicate a video to them right here on VisualPolitik. If you don't want to miss that one, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell button so you're...
Recently, you know, there was a terror attack on India, remember?
Yeah.
And then India fights back with the bombing Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say too much about the political standoff slash situation. Not really know too much about it, but I might be naive. I am naive actually to say that peace is a better option, but somehow, some way, people are gonna be satisfied with that kind of answer, right?
Which people actually?
On both sides.
Satisfied.
On both sides. For example, okay, this is just gonna be saying, what if now my statement is saying, I'm gonna say that peace is the better option. No matter what happens, India and Pakistan should learn to live with each other with peace. How many of our listeners, who are probably are Indians right now, and maybe some of the Pakistani viewers, how many of you guys are gonna be happy with that kind of statement?
Okay.
How many of you guys from Pakistan would be happy with that kind of statement? Of course, every other country, like the neighboring countries, okay, please stop fighting and just be friends, right? Right? But it's not gonna be as simple as
because my concern is the people of Kashmir. They
in the middle.
They don't know anything, but these two countries surrounding them, the neighboring country, is kind of fight each other and taking their land where they're supposed to be live. Peacefully.
They have to defend themselves from small terrorist groups. They have also to defend themselves in terms of the country. India is supposed to protect them, but they cannot like be suppressed right now.
And
it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. There's no clear right or wrong answer. This is kind of a gray situation, a gray area situation, right? There's no black and white here. However, the one thing that I can really say right now, I mean, if you, I'm not really sure what's really going on in India right now, but as you know, because we do reaction, this is something that we can probably relate on. A lot of times when we do reaction, for example, Indonesians react to this, Indonesians react to that, right? No, that's not my point. My point is every time we watch one of our own videos, a lot of the content that is related to our videos are Pakistani reacts to the same title of the content, which is basically an Indian content. So I'm not sure how to draw the line. Like for example, like if Pakistan, this is just a stupid analogy from me. It's like if Pakistani really hates Indians, why are they reacting to Indian content? For example, like India and Indonesia, we don't really have any big problems. We don't really have. We are well okay. That's why we are doing this. That's why a lot of you guys are accepted us as one of the reactors of Indian contents, and of course we also reacted to Malaysian contents, Philippine content, and a lot of the people from these countries also accepted us as one of the reactors. But whenever I see, this is just my not concern. I'm curious. Like for example, if you guys see a Pakistani react to certain Indian contents, like okay, we got this political situation going on. How does you guys feel to see a country that like I'm not trying to pick a fight here. I'm just like curious. Like I think we saw a lot like Pakistani react to this, right? A lot, right? And then not only just from one channel, but multiple channels. For example, how many reactors specifically from Indonesia that consistently and constantly reacted to contents from India, contents from Philippines, contents from Kazakhstan? I think I can probably safely assume we're the only channel. We're the only channel that do that. But how do you guys feel? I mean, like, I'm just not trying to tell you to attack Pakistan. No, don't do that. It's wrong. I think just be nice and everything. But I'm just curious because it's kind of like,
how do you guys feel?
Yeah, like. But there is always a need. Do we have a nuclear program here? No, right? I don't think so. Not that I know of. But with the political situation getting heated everywhere, India and Pakistan, China and the US, sometimes as just a normal human being, sometimes I feel we need nuclear program. Right now Indonesia is a lot of internal conflict. We don't really have any external conflict at the moment yet.
More into internal
conflict, right? A lot of internal conflicts right now, especially after the election. So I don't know, like we haven't reached of external conflicts with, I don't know what countries. I don't know. We are fine with everybody right now, right?
No, of course not. I mean, there's some concern issue in the past years. About the batik one, and then about apa ya yang gue tahu. I think what I know is about the batik. So we kind of arguing between Indonesia and Malaysia who is the originator of this. And then
small argument.
Another one is like with Timor country.
I forgot about the country. Timor Leste.
Timor Leste country. We kind of have some issue in the.
They used to be part of us, right?
They used to be one part of us.
And they're gonna break away.
And I hope those kind of issue is not coming back.
Hopefully it's still small. I mean, it keeps small. I think it's still small. People don't really talk about it. But what I can say is, you know what? a lot of things that has been going on is actually, I believe, are the sins of our fathers.
Yeah.
You know the kind of saying.
Yeah.
And we are like kind of stuck with that sin, and then like I don't know, we're still fighting. And sometimes, I forgot. I saw this. I don't know whether it's a movie or TV series. I forgot. There's this like story that is going on that they fight for thousands of years. I think it's Doctor Who. I think it's a series that I watched.
Okay.
They fight for thousands of years, and when they ask like, "Why are you fighting?" they don't even remember.
Yeah. That's kind of sad.
I think that's kind of like a story premise. You probably heard it somewhere, right? So as always, guys, there was how do you put it? There was an interesting video. I'm trying to.
Interesting is not a proper word, but
as always.
Thank you for watching.
Let's just finish it here.
Yeah,
I don't want to say anything that might cause world war.
Thank
Thank you for watching, guys.
you for watching.
Bye.
See ya.